Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Bethany Rue, Associate Publisher of Pittsburgh Current, and this is Pittsburgh Current Conversations, where it's our occasional series where we have interesting conversations about interesting topics with interesting people. Today, I am joined by Brian Gallagher. A lot of people know him as Sluver, and we are here to talk about Kratom.
Kratom.
Brian,
Yes.
welcome. Um,
Thanks.
if you're like me, you've probably driven past a vape shop and you've seen the sign outside. And it says we have Kratom. To the people out there that don't know what that means, can you fill them in?
So kratom is a tree indigenous to Southeast Asia. Um, it is related to the coffee tree. Instead of the beans ground up to make a drink, you grind up the leaves, and most people drink it as a tea. It's been used in Southeast Asia and Thailand, Malaysia for hundreds of years by mostly farm workers. It gives them a little boost, and it also has pain-killing properties. So,
Okay. And by the way, I do want to mention today's podcast is sponsored by GetKratom.com. GetKratom.com is one of the oldest Kratom vendors in the United States. Since 2007, GetKratom.com has been importing the highest quality pure leaf Kratom from the most reputable suppliers in Southeast Asia. Lab tested for purity, GetKratom.com offers the best strains of Bali, Mangda, Thai, tell me if I'm pronouncing any of these wrong, Cali, Indo, and the purest extracts. GetKratom.com also offers top quality therapeutic CBD, essential oils, and kava. Don't settle for less. Get quality, get purity, getkratom.com. Now, Sluver, you're here today with Kratom Science. So there is a science behind Kratom and why it does what it does. Can you talk a little bit about how that sort of works?
yeah, our site was started by a molecular biologist in 2013 who also likes kratom. Um, and we have a lot of news and information on that site. And I write a blog. I mostly write about legality topics. But the molecular biologist Josh, he writes a lot of the more molecular biology stuff. I could barely pronounce that. English major. But
Same.
but what it is it's basically, like I said, it's traditionally used as a tea, and it's basically in the coffee family. So it'll give you a boost, but instead of making you jittery when you take a stronger dose, it gives you pain killing effects. So that's why it's great for manual laborers and people who do it for that. In the United States, it's been imported probably only in the last 10 or 15 years. Um, and so a lot of people use it for depression, anxiety, chronic pain, and fibromyalgia. I've talked to a few people that use it for PTSD, and but it's a very mild. It's not like a painkiller. It's not as strong as that, but it gets people through. People say they use it as a tool in their wellness toolkit. I've had a couple people say that to me. So
No, so what are some misconceptions that you've heard or some untruths that you've seen out there? And by the way, we are live on Facebook, so if you guys have any Kratom questions for Sluver, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll get those to him. But I mean, because I know, is it mostly just that people don't know what it is, or have you had some people that you're like, yep, that's actually not true?
yeah, well, most people don't know what it is. But the other thing that happens is it's so unregulated that it oftentimes, if you get it from some nefarious vendor, it's sometimes adulterated with other things like opiates and like synthetics. Like, we have the bath salts and the spice thing. Those are all synthetics. Kratom is a natural plant. It's when you get it in pure leaf form, it's relatively safe. Like if you can't have caffeine because of a heart problem, you probably shouldn't have kratom as well. But it's been used in Southeast Asia for hundreds of years, and there's not one recorded overdose death. And a lot of the media that comes out about it, it's the people had deaths because it was adulterated with other opiates, but they also had kratom in their system. But there's recently came out about 91 overdose deaths, but it was these people had also had fentanyl. They were poly drug users. So it's the kratom leaf alone is relatively safe. It has a safety profile like coffee. Not everybody should drink coffee, but the problem is it's hard to get the pure. It's hard to know where to look for the pure leaf stuff. If you go into some of these vape shops, not all of them, but some of them have suppliers that will put anything they want in it because it's so unregulated.
Well, and you bring up a good point. We were actually talking about this before we started. There is a push to regulate it because it is, a substance that could be abused or could be dangerous if in the wrong hands. And I found this interesting. The kratom community is actually very pro regulation. They actually are sort of welcoming of this. Could you talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, the American Kratom Association is our main advocacy organization. They have lobbyists that goes around, and what the main thing they're trying to do, and what most kratom advocates are trying to do, is get the Kratom Consumer Protection Act passed. That will ensure that all the vendors test for purity, and that nobody under the age of 18 can get it. Right now, an 8-year-old could go into a store and buy adulterated kratom if they wanted to. So we're trying to make
Don't do that, children. If there's any 8-year-olds watching this, do not do that.
There's other ways to get high too. It's not really a high. It's more of a coffee buzz. It's very mild in the pain killing. I mean, when you get into extracts, it's more of the pain killing thing that people use for chronic pain. But yeah, so the FDA wants to ban it. We're trying to say, well, a ban is not going to do anything but put it in the black market. What we're trying to do is get a law passed that ensures people are getting pure leaf kratom and not stuff that's adulterated. So we are pushing for regulation, but not a total ban, which I think would make it worse than it is now.
Well, and I think there's still exploring the positive uses for kratom, right? Like I know we had discussed earlier too. This is a good way. You've had a lot of people break an opioid addiction by substitute. It's not just for getting that caffeine buzz, right? Like there's other good holistic approaches or uses for it.
Yeah, and we've gotten hundreds of comments on kratomscience.com where people have said, I was addicted to opioids for 13 years, and this stuff helped me wean off of it. And it's kind of dangerous because we don't, the research isn't there as to how it interacts with every prescription drug, but it has helped people who were off stay off of opiates. And these are it's hundreds and hundreds of comments of people saying, they go so far as to say it saved my life. I can be a mom to my kids again. It helps with my PTSD. I just interviewed a lady named Nina Ajden. She grew up in Bosnia during the war, so she has severe PTSD from that, and she also developed a skin disease called topical steroid withdrawal after she moved here. She thought it was probably from a blood transfusion she got over in Bosnia, and they got refugee status. So she has severe, they call it complex PTSD, and she says kratom didn't save my life or anything like that, but it just helps me get through the day. It helps with my depression and anxiety. It helps get me, she's starting her first regular job in 5 years because she was so debilitated from the disease. So it's kind of like that. I mean, some people say it was a lifesaver. I'm no longer addicted to. I no longer have to take prescription opioids. I can get up and work and everything. And other people say it just helps me get through this. So there's a range of uses.
So what about, there's going to be people that are obviously, you're going to hear like this is junk science and what the heck. And, how well researched and how deep does that go in terms of what it's already been through, putting, with the scientific community and what they say about it?
Yeah. There has to be a lot more research, but the experts, the kratom experts, and we have a college here, the College of Pharmacy at the University of Florida. It's headed by the kratom program is headed by Dr. Chris McCurdy, and they're studying it. He's been studying it for I think since 2004, and also the other one is the University of Science in Malaysia, and where it grows wild, and they've been studying it too. And when you look at the experts, the science is that it's a relatively safe, but they say pure leaf. It's relatively safe, but they want to figure out how it interacts with other drugs, and it's going to take lots and lots of research. The problem where you don't get a lot of research is because mostly drug companies will research these things, and kratom, since it's a natural plant, it's going to take a lot longer to turn into like a pill that they can sell for thousands of dollars.
I was going to ask, what is the drug, the pharmaceutical industry? Do they have a take or an opinion on this?
Well, I mean, the FDA is trying to ban it. The FDA gets 65% of their budget from the pharmaceutical industry in the form of application fees for new drugs. So, without getting into like conspiracy theory, it seems that they want to ban it because it's a natural plant that people are using to help sometimes get them off prescription drugs, which cuts into 0.01% of the budget, but they're not gonna take that. But it's not really conspiracy. I mean, the guy Scott Gottlieb, the last commissioner, left the FDA in March, and now he's on the board of Pfizer. Senator Warren called him out for that. So it's kind of like the revolving door between government and pharmaceuticals, and this is also relatively cheap. You can buy it off the internet, but we want it regulated. Though.
I looked this up. So Sluver brought a bag of this over, and I said earlier, it's very ASMR-y. This is from getkratom.com. This is a 4-ounce bag of the Pure Leaf, correct? And this is $40 online. So how long would this last you? Like, what would I do with this? So say I have this bag.
For me, it would last me like probably 5 months or something like that, because I only take it like 3 times a month or something like that. Other people take it every day, like a coffee or a coffee in the morning. I use it as a boost. Do you make a tea with this, or do you put it in a smoothie? I'm making it a tea. Some people do like a toss and wash thing, which is ridiculous because you get a big clump of powder in your gut. And
I'm assuming this doesn't taste good. Like
not when you do it like that. The tea is a bitter tea, and most people say it tastes disgusting. And that's why it's not like a fun thing.
Nobody's like, wow, this is delicious.
For a boost or for their own wellness. So I think tea is the best way to go. You can also mix it. People mix it with like chocolate milk. They say it cuts down on the taste. But I put it in a French press. I use 2 teaspoons.
You're fancy, Sluver.
Yeah. I bought it at the Red, White, and Blue thrift store down in 51. So it's not that fancy.
Not as fancy. Hey, we know that.
And it's plastic.
That's where half of our set came from. We love that store.
Yeah, but I use 2 teaspoons. That's like 5 grams. That's a pretty strong dose. I think if somebody wanted to try it, just use 1 teaspoon at first, and then I steep it for like a half hour to get all the good stuff out of it, and then I do the French press thing and make sure the sludge stays in there, and I pour off the liquid. I would not drink the sludge. Like some people just and then some people put it in the capsules. Some people who are really using it for chronic pain, and they want to regulate their dose, and a lot of people, when they do it, they'll quit on purpose for a few days just so they don't get, because it is habit forming like coffee is.
Right.
Like some people get splitting headaches if they don't have their coffee for the day. So it's kind of like that.
That's how I am.
But it's also, some people do form addictions that cost them a lot of money. So it's like, depending on the person, you have to be careful. I'm not here to say it's 100% safe, but it's also, you can self-regulate with it more easily than you could with, like, say, alcohol or cigarettes, and they're available to adults everywhere. So that's why we want to make sure people are buying the pure stuff and they can get it as adults.
So if somebody had chronic pain issues, this is something that they might want to explore as an option. If somebody had, you mentioned like fibromyalgia. I mean, what are some of the other? I know you said you might read some comments, so I know you have some success stories. Or what's another one that kind of pops out? Just so people could sort of really see the human stories behind this and how it works for people.
This guy's named Daryl. He said, I was on the USS Theodore Roosevelt, deployed September 18th, 2001. So he goes through his whole military history, and I'm assuming he's using this for PTSD. He says, I love Kratom. It's keep me away from negative junk. Methadone is no joke, and the withdrawal lingers for 2 weeks. I think Kratom is wonderful because when using it, I don't even think of heroin, pain pills, or alcohol. So this guy might not have, he might have had an addiction problem. This lady, Sabrina, says, I just discovered Kratom in February. It's helped my fibromyalgia symptoms better than any medication doctors have given me over the past 7 years. if the FDA really cared about our safety and well-being, they would run tests to prove or disprove their claims. Um, but okay, so a lot of people are mad at the FDA because they're going to take away something that they really use, and it really helps their quality of life rather than.
Do you think there's a real danger that the FDA is going to ban it, or do you think that because the kratom industry is so supportive of regulation and so willing to work with them, that it might not come to pass? I mean, what's the industry sort of, where do they stand
Well,
on
it's
that?
on a state-by-state basis, so now it's banned. Like we're working on a state-by-state basis. The FDA does want to ban it, but the commissioner, just went and joined the board of Pfizer. So I think the new commissioner is a lot better. I forget his name, Norman something, but
I can Google it.
So on a state-by-state basis, it has been made illegal in some states, but what the American Kratom Association is doing is getting the Consumer Protection Act passed, and they've done that in 4 states. It's like Georgia, Utah, Arizona, and I forget the other one. But so they can't outlaw it now, but there are laws in place where if you sell kratom anywhere, you have to have it tested for purity. You have to put the alkaloids on the bag. You can't sell it to anybody under the age of 18. So
Now, what's Pennsylvania look like? What's Wolfie and his buds think?
Pennsylvania's looking pretty good. Well, there was a Representative Conklin who was in the PA House from State College. There was a death there that was, I think, proven to be adulterated kratom. That's the problem. People were taking it laced with all kinds of weird stuff. And so he decided, he announced, I'm going to write a bill to ban kratom. Let's ban kratom in Pennsylvania. So we were like, okay. And I did write an article about that. But Mac Haddow, the lobbyist for the American Kratom Association, went and met with him. And he told him about the science and everything, and he's like, it will be less dangerous if we pass a law to ensure the purity.
Right.
And they said that the meeting with him, Conklin said, okay, I'll consider that. So we have a really good organization that the guy knows how to, meet with the politicians and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll get a Consumer Protection Act passed in our state.
Right, and I do want to tell kratomscience.com is your website, and that's where you can find a lot of this information, all the articles that he's talking about, all of the information that we're talking about high level here. You can read more in depth. Sluver does a great job of sort of breaking down these kind of complicated concepts in a way that you can understand. So make sure you guys are visiting kratomscience.com after this to read up on the latest and greatest. I mean, would you say that you're passionate about this? I mean,
definitely.
Because you didn't know about it before, right?
No,
and then you sort of found out about it, and now you're
and they
an
hired
advocate.
me, and then and I've been just doing nothing but researching the stuff, and I wouldn't be writing about anything that I thought was deadly or dangerous because it's just not worth it. But the thing I do on there that I like the most is called Kratom Stories, where I interview people and they say how it's helped them, and I don't we don't hold back. If do you have any negative side effects? Sometimes people do. Do you get withdrawals? Sometimes people do. I never had negative side effects myself or withdrawals or anything because I just don't use it that much. It's not like you don't really fiend after it, but that's what I like to do, and I like to follow the legality stuff. And we have a thing that we say called follow the science, meaning don't just look at the sensationalistic headlines. We want to have a reefer madness type thing. I mean, the FDA wants
madness.
they call it leafer madness now. Somebody just coined that, which is pretty funny, but it's when you look at the science, when you look at what the experts are saying, the pure leaf kratom is it's not going to kill you. I can say that with authority, definitely. And it's the problem with the adulterated and the poly drug use. Now we have to watch out because pure leaf kratom might react with certain drugs in a way we don't understand yet. But if we ban kratom, we're not going to find that out because research is so much harder for scientists to do on banned substances. That's why we're only figuring out now that CBD helps with epileptic seizures because it's banned for 80 years.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that kratom is benefiting from this sort of CBD boom craze? I mean, that's like everywhere now. I mean, you could get it in ice cream. You can give it to your pets.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that kratom might be the next CBD?
Well, I think the main thing that's driving because there's been an upsurge just in the last 2 years of popularity in kratom, and we had the opioid crisis, which was drug companies just selling as many pills as they wanted to, and now the government has pulled back, and so doctors are not prescribing enough pain pills to people who actually need them. So they're under prescribing now. That's the answer to over prescribing. So a lot of people are looking for options. CBD helps with pain as well. And Kratom is just another alternative that people are looking for that, won't cost you $13,000 a pill, and and it's something that it should be. I mean, it should be out in the open, and doctors should know about it, and they should be able to talk to their patients about it. If you ban it, it's just going to go in the black market, and people who can't afford pills. A lot of people in this country can't afford pills, are just going to look to the black market, just like a lot of the opioid addicts went to heroin. So we need it out in the open, regulated.
Okay. Well, and again, you can get it at our sponsor's website, getkratom.com. Again, it's one of the oldest kratom vendors in the United States. Since 2007, getkratom.com has been importing the highest quality pure leaf kratom from the most reputable suppliers in Southeast Asia. Lab tested for purity, so that's what you were talking about earlier, that purity. Getkratom.com offers the best strains of Bali, Mangda, Thai, Kali, Indo, and the purest extracts. GetCreative.com also offers top quality therapeutic CBD, essential oils, and kava. Don't settle for less. Get quality, get purity, getkratom.com. Sluver, I want to thank you so much for coming in here today and talking to us about Kratom. Again, kratomscience.com, your website, is a great resource. So if you didn't have your questions answered today, always check out the website. Like anything, it's not going to be for everybody, but hopefully we all learned a little bit more about it today and about some of the benefits of Kratom.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us for today's current conversation. And again, thank you to our sponsor, getkratom.com. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day. Thank you.